gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to this episode of Reading with Ben. Today, we will talk about Charles Darwin, and the book I recommend is Who Was Charles Darwin? So, who was Charles Darwin, and why is he so famous? Charles Robert Darwin was born on February the 12th, 1809, in Shrewsbury, a small village in England. Although he lived a quiet life, he started a revolution of thoughts. Have you ever wondered about how life on Earth started? When Charles Darwin lived, most people in Europe and America believed God created the entire world in just 6 days, just as it says in the Bible. But Charles Darwin was not most people. He took a 5-year trip around the world on a ship called the Beagle, and that told him to be a true scientist, to look closely at nature, question everything, and think in a new way about how life on Earth started. Charles Darwin showed how living things could naturally change or evolve over a long period of time. He knew his ideas would shock people. They did. Yet today, scientists accept evolution as a fact. Charles Darwin is as important as ever. Well, just now, we mentioned about the important Beagle voyage. So, how did Charles get on that ship? Charles Darwin graduated from college in the summer of 1831 at the age of 22. He was planning to become a minister in the Church of England. In August, he got a letter from his friend and mentor, Professor Henslow, asking him if he would like to travel around the world. A captain in the British Navy named Robert Fitzroy would soon sail around the world. His ship, the HMS Beagle, would be gone for at least 2 years. HMS stands for His or Her Majesty's Ship. Charles was invited because the captain liked science and nature. He wanted to bring along a naturalist, someone who studies nature. Now, let's talk about the Beagle voyage. The fact is, Charles suffered terribly during most of the trip. He once told a friend, "I hate every wave of the ocean." The Beagle's first stop was the Cape Verde Islands, which lie north of the equator. Everything was new and different. He walked on volcanic rocks. Right away, he started collecting new insects, new flowers, and new sea creatures. He also became curious about how the island had been formed. Now, sitting on the island beach in the hot sun, he had a wonderful idea. He would observe plants and animals and places he saw on his trip. He was filled with excitement. He would follow his hearts and become a scientist. To the Galapagos. The Galapagos is right here. Here is South America, and off the coast of Ecuador lies the Galapagos Islands. The Beagle voyage was supposed to last 2 years. Instead, it lasted 5. The Beagle arrived at the Galapagos on September the 15th, 1835. This was a high point for Charles. He was eager to see the amazing creatures, volcanoes, and lava fields of the Galapagos Islands. He was also fascinated by the giant Galapagos tortoise and swimming marine iguana there. He took finches, a kind of bird from the Galapagos Islands, which has later contributed to his later famous work, Natural Selection. Theory of Natural Selection. John Gould was an ornithologist, a scientist who studies birds. After examining finch specimens Charles took from the Galapagos Islands, John Gould told Charles something astonishing. Birds from one island were not the same species as birds from another island. They were different species. But Charles disagreed. He knew that in South America there was only one finch that looked like the finches in the Galapagos Islands. So he came up with some ideas about what might have happened. He thought that long ago, some finches in South America had gone to the Galapagos Islands long ago. Maybe a storm had blown them there. So at first, there had only been one species of finch on all the different islands. Then somehow, from a common ancestor, birds on various islands changed over time or evolved into different species. If the finches had changed, thought Charles, maybe other creatures could change too. With his own eyes, Charles saw that changes on Earth can happen through natural forces like volcanoes. He knew that all creatures struggle to survive, and that struggle causes populations of plants, animals, and even bacteria to change. Charles called this force natural selection. Charles Darwin's Revolution. On November the 24th, 1859, Charles's book titled On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection was published. Today, most people call it The Origin of Species. This book threw England into an uproar. Some people attacked Charles and his ideas. Others thought his theory had to be right, even if it turned their old beliefs upside down. Charles Darwin figured out that passing traits from one generation to another was key to understanding evolution. He felt sure there would be a revolution in science. He was right, and he was the one who started it. Although Charles Darwin's ideas are still controversial, which means some people will not accept them, they are considered as a cornerstone of modern science. So, what should we learn from Charles Darwin? Perhaps the most valuable thing about Charles Darwin for us young people is his spirit of never feeling tired of learning, asking questions, and looking at the world with an open mind. So, no matter where we are, what we do, never be afraid of asking how and why. Thanks for watching this episode of Reading with Ben. Next episode, we'll talk more about the Galapagos Islands mentioned just now in the Beagle Voyage. Remember, keep learning, keep reading. And don't forget to keep yourself updated on our new releases.